My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast.
And we welcome back my voice.
And we welcome back your voice. We welcome back, not having to go to a hospital. It's a good start.
It is. There was no emergencies today.
There were no emergencies today. That was wonderful. It was a lovely, relaxing...
Germopalypse seems to be... The germopocalypse seems to be...
The germopocalypse seems to be at its end.
Touch wood.
Today, of course, as we all know from the internet, we are celebrating the birthday of, obviously, Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
Thank you, Queen. I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with the royal family. So, again, all we hear is birthday gaga, birthday goo-goo, birthday gaga. That's makes sense, right?
Perfect sense.
That's exactly what this day is about, birthday gaga. So anyway, South Australia Week. Mm-hmm.
It looks awesome.
It looks amazing. It looks wonderful.
Going there for the first time this year for a conference for work.
Yeah, that was really cool. I like the fact you're going there for that. I might tag along.
Yes, I think you should.
I think I really should tag along this.
I think we should just extend it and pop down to the Barossa, have a few drinks, check out the mags.
But we do that everywhere. Pop down and have a few drinks. It's my reason for going places.
Indeed.
So they began tonight's episode by talking about the great history of successful Masterchef people from South Australia, and they started listing people. My disappointment at the fact that they didn't list Eloise. No,
she was brilliant. How do you miss the pirate whiskey queen?
Exactly, you can't miss Eloise. Hey Eloise, if you happen to be listening.
Great Bake-Off contestants come from Adelaide.
They do indeed, but obviously they're not going to talk about that. But Jeremy,
Jeremy, Urban Desserts. Check that Facebook page.
Check out Urban Desserts. He's got some really cool artwork going there, and even better macarons.
Oh my god!
Even better macarons. One of the things that was demanded for our wedding food was his macarons.
And ta-da!
And he obliged us beautifully. So. Now, they began by talking about the fresh produce.
Oh, yes.
And what's the best way to demonstrate fresh produce?
Delivering it in a tractor.
Yep, because, of course, you can't deliver food any other way. It must be by tractor.
I'd like to think that they did actually just pop them in the crates on a farm, and it took them like 6 days to get them into Adelaide.
By the time they got it there, it was no longer fresh produce.
No.
It was like, you don't need to have a tractor to try to convince everybody it's fresh.
No, and what's with these bringing in these farm actors?
So you there, person, is this all fresh crop? Yeah, it's fresh. I pissed on it this morning. What do you mean? You mean you picked it? No, I know what I said.
I know what I did.
How do you think they grow? Right, water. Salinity is a big problem. Have you heard about the Murray-Darling Basin? There's only one way to water these crops. All right, kids, let's go. Get them out.
Urination for the
nation. Urination for the nation. All right, we're going to get you away from this kitchen now. Go, weeing farmers. So once the United Urinating Farmers of South Australia had left, and they all got excited over a tractor, and there were audible gasps, and oh, wow, is that a tractor? Oh my God, it's a tractor! You've seen a tractor? I've watched Thomas the Tank Engine. I've seen tractors.
Do they have tractors in Thomas the Tank Engine?
Yeah, they get everything in Thomas the Tank Engine.
I saw tractors at an ag show once because we went to Gunnedah, and the big thing to do at Gunnedah, go to the Ag Quip show.
Of course there is. There's nothing else to do in Gunnedah.
And all these fucking tractors from...
Tractors as far as the eye can see?
I can see all over the showground. And
there's a bright John Deere haze on the meadow.
Yes, I do remember the John Deere Hayes tractors and the other ones.
The corn is as high as a Massey's eye. That was my audition for Oklahoma, by the way, or because it was, it's South Australia, something Barossa based. By the way, there was a really good question asked on Twitter tonight. At what point do we get to Snowtown? And the cooking in a barrel challenge. So what we want you to do is we want you to ferment something in a barrel. So just seal it up.
6 months later, we're going to come and check it.
We're going to put it in the safest place we can find.
A bank vault.
How about a bank vault? How about a bank vault? We can put it in the bank vault.
Salted pork. Never gets old.
Credit to at Ian Alberto 01 on Twitter for the original Snowtown suggestion, but you're 100% right. We were all sort of thinking it. You said it, so congratulations. That was brilliant. So we decided to start with the challenge. I had to use all this fresh produce,
Opposed to like rotting produce.
As opposed to the 4 or 5 day old stuff they get from down the back of the Coles bins. I'd like to think that when Channel 10 was in financial crap, that they had to shop on sale. Like they waited for the reduced. Like when they got that sticker over the top of it.
Oh, zucchinis are $2.50, down from $5.
Bingo.
Bring those on.
It's a bit soft, isn't it? No, it's still good.
Yeah, you can make a casserole.
Get a day or two out of these.
Yeah, just put them in the freezer.
No more than that, but we're really close on the day.
Hit them with the nitro, what's it called? Nitrous oxide.
Hit with the nitrous. So
liquid nitrogen, that's the word.
So we have to begin with two elements that make it feel like we're in a real MasterChef kitchen, even though they were outside in ridiculous heat. The first thing was the first real strong, consistent mention this year of quandongs. Nothing makes you think like that you're in MasterChef quite like someone using a quandong.
And look, the first time I heard the word quandong, I was about 8 or 9 years old. I'd never heard of a condom.
Oh, God.
But my mum had been to Girl Guide leader training, like as a brownie leader, and they went on like a native food track.
Oh, God.
And she came back giggling about condoms.
Of course your mother came back.
And condoms. And that's how I found out about quandongs and condoms.
So, in other words, the conversation in your house about, reproduction and that sort of thing began... Oh, no, I've started doing a Grease 2 kick. No. Grease 2 is the superior. Grease 2 is inferior. We're not getting into that now. But I was sure at one point, Robert mentioned it on Twitter a couple of times. We all mentioned it. But I was in the kitchen when Khan was talking about his dish at the end. Yeah. And he talked about the fact that he'd really worked hard on these. And I swear he said condoms that time. It wasn't quandongs. I'm looking to get all the flavour out of the condom that I can. And I'm like, that's a bold statement. I know it's a forward-thinking country, but is it that forward-thinking? The second thing that made it feel like it was a normal MasterChef challenge this season was Jess goes... So I've decided to make a dessert.
Surprise! That's never.
Has she ever made a dessert before?
I'm not sure, but she decided to make a tart. Never seen her make a tart before. That's unique.
Let's just think back.
It's fucking hot.
She hasn't.
Pastry needs to stay.
No. Last week she made a savoury dish. She was forced to. Beyond the scratching my head. Hang on a minute. Hang on. I've just found something. Hang on. I'm just going to read this out. Jess, stop making desserts. We're over it. Look, we get the whole very early on you stick to your strengths. But as we've said, it's fine to stick to your strengths early on. But you've got to start doing something else.
And particularly when you're vying for immunity, fair enough. But it's a chance for you to start pushing your boundaries because you're going to stumble. We've never seen a dessert person get through. It's not going to happen. Stop trying to make desserts happen.
Especially when it's really hot.
Yeah, we saw it happen with Zumbo.
Yeah, we all saw what happened with Zumbo. And actually, nobody saw what was happening with Zumbo. Hence why that show ended. Although apparently very popular, as I've said before, on Netflix America.
Yeah,
they'll watch anything. They'll watch anything. And by the way, that's not to take away from Adriana Zumbo's actual desserts, which are really good. But, TV show hosting, not his thing.
Not his thing.
So, anyone who made that decision to do a dessert, and look, Janine did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculously hot. You can tell just from watching. It looked, again, I'm a very pale redhead. I looked at that and I'm like, that's not my natural habitat. No, I would be out of there.
Yeah.
I would have just gone, you know what, put me straight through to elimination. I'm just going back to the hotel.
I love how there's a little cap that the contestants can wear these days, but that's not enough.
It's not enough. Where was the one with the full back on it? They needed the full flap at the back, the one that goes down your neck that makes you look like a ball boy from the Australian Open. right? They needed that, or otherwise they could have been like me in the middle of summer and dressed as a beekeeper.
You know, bring apiary awareness.
Apiary awareness. Fellow redheads unite.
Yeah.
You know, but all unite under the one very big umbrella.
I do have to question, why do we have to keep having these outdoor challenges?
Especially when there was nothing like Japan last year, which looked like a giant sperm over their heads.
Exactly, but that looks cold, but at least you've got like heat and stuff around you to keep you warm.
But their fires kept going out.
Yeah, I think their fires do keep going out. I like the outdoor challenges where they like when they were doing the night markets and they're in the little marquee. That seems fair enough.
Yep.
But it just doesn't seem necessary.
Yeah, there didn't seem to really be a point, apart from to get a lot of people to come down and go, yay!
Apart from using tractors and just randos on the street who are filming it with their phones. So, like, there goes your privacy.
I didn't see, were they filming with their phones?
Yeah, there was a few people had the phones out.
I was sure they would have made everyone who sat there to watch that sign a non-disclosure and no filming.
I did like the rando couple when they were doing the judging at the end of that part of this part that we're talking about. Just standing there and he's just casually putting his arm around his lady and watching away. I hope they're a couple. Otherwise, it's just a woman who stopped to watch and this guy thought, here's my chance.
He's like, we're on camera. Now's my shot. So, yeah, it was really... It was a weird-ass challenge for me to have them all out in that heat of those benches for no real purpose, when later on this week you're going to get them out in places for a bit more of a purpose. Yeah. Also, I found it really weird when George decided to judge what Sarah was making. And he had to go about the bark. When she said bark, he goes, all I hear there is dry and my mouth is very dry. And then they sort of goes, I know it's all trendy with the hip and happening chefs. And in my head I'm going, George, these fuckers come into your kitchen every week to take on the contestants and make your show good. These are the people you're mocking right now.
Yeah, these are the people who are paying their work.
These are the people who pay their workforce.
He goes, I guess these are the chefs that, get paid a full living wage and, pay their taxes and stuff. I can't see that happening.
I can't employ a full staff like that. But no, it was just ridiculous, the fact that he's there going, when you say the word bark, my mouth feels dry. And I'm like...
Have a drink of water, George.
Yeah, I know it's hot, George. Have a drink of water.
Have one of your magnesium, fucking Swiss.
You feel better on Swiss, George. You feel better on Swiss.
Obviously, you missed your Swiss, George. Go take your Swiss. Every time George is a dick, I'm thinking he's missed his Swiss.
That was when someone, I think Nicole came back off the roll call and said, so, what's happening? What have I missed? And I summed it up by saying, George has been a bit of a dick. Jess is making a dessert. And was another one which was another obvious one. And it was and her response was, so in other words, it's a normal Sunday night. Yeah, pretty much.
And the thing is, right, we watch MasterChef to see things come on trend. We're not in the food industry. We see things and whatever else, but we don't know what's going on. And so it's good when you're watching MasterChef to see people actually pull stuff out they're on trend and put it into their dishes because they've obviously learnt something and we're getting that communicated to us at home. So, Sarah's plate looked beautiful.
And if you don't get people doing those things and pulling out those weird on-trend things, you end up with, I don't know, a bland pulled pork slider. We'll come to that later.
Yeah, so who excited me tonight was Sarah and Khan.
Let's talk Khan, shall we?
As soon as I saw Khan and... Finally, we're hearing him talk about stuff. One, he's hilarious. I'm down at the beach with my mates. I'm just eating saltbush, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Saltbush city limits. I loved that tonight when at one point they were like, there's two tarts in this battle, and there were two tarts. They called for Jess's, although I kind of think they actually asked for Jess's, sort of so they could say to her, "Nah, this isn't very good." Yeah. You can do better than this. This is not really what you should be doing. Janine made a tart, which looked okay, and they liked the taste of it, but again, was what it was. The two lots of kangaroo, though, that got made.
Yep.
Again, Sarah's looked impressive, but Khan's...
Oh, my gosh, and the way that sauce, you could see when Matt Preston ate it, and kind of describing it with the plums and the mushrooms and the condong. Like, oh, this is going to be good. And he put the lamb in it as well. So really creating a strong jus. And yeah, you saw the judges are now tasting it, going back for the jus. So,
and I apologise thoroughly to the fifth person, but I don't remember who it was. Anyone remember? Because I don't.
No.
There was 2 tarts. There was 2 kangaroo. I don't remember who the last person was.
Somebody else.
Answers on a postcard.
Back on this postage stamp.
Answers on a postage stamp. We don't really care, to be honest with you, because it was all about Khan.
Yeah. So good to see him and good to see Sarah. And the thing is, they did it. They actually went in with a respect for the produce and also being aware of their environment of the day. What can they produce?
Exactly. I thought it was really good. And I thought that it's good to see Khan go straight through to immunity.
About fucking time.
It's about fucking time. As along with somebody else who got through to immunity tonight, who it's, again, really fucking overdue that they get back to immunity because...
Hashtag justice for Samira.
Shot at redemption time. So let's get into...
She doesn't need to be redeemed. She needs to have, like, fucking things made up to her.
She needs to reclaim a pin from Sashi.
They should fucking let...
They should put Sashi's pin on the line.
Yep.
So, yeah, cook off.
Exactly.
No, forget bringing the and now, ladies and gentlemen, pretend you know chef in. Don't do that. No. Put them up against each other, head to head for the pin. Chance to win someone's pin. I want to see that. That could be good, a head-to-head challenge for somebody's
Double
pin.
or nothing.
Double or nothing, I like it. So... let's get into this challenge. So the challenge became the night markets and they paired them off.
Yep.
So we'll go through who the pairs were first and we'll talk about that and then we'll get into their food and their issues. I'm looking directly at you, red team. So, the red team, the canteen ladies.
Oh my God.
It was Janine.
I feel sorry for their school.
It was Janine and Chloe.
They soggy meat pies and fucking underdone chicken rolls.
They really were canteen ladies.
Oh, soggy salad sandwiches.
Composite chicken burgers that are not made of actual chicken but are made of that pressed crap.
Yeah. The little single frozen pizzas.
Pizza singles, yeah.
And they're still frozen.
They're still frozen after you cook them. You know, with that red impression of sauce, but in reality it's just a red base.
Yeah. 6-day-old custard tarts.
Oh, you're bringing them back. You're bringing them back.
And they've run out of eucalyptus lollies. Bad canteen.
However, they always have carob. Ugh. So, the white team.
Yes.
Team Bling, as they kept on calling them. Sashi and Reese.
Yeah, well, we knew they had nothing to lose.
Yeah, basically. And we got to hear a lot about that tonight.
Yep.
The green team, Hodder and Ben.
Okay, so their dish didn't go so well, but they had things under fucking control.
Yeah, well...
rolling out balls.
I mean, Hodder was doing a lot.
Hodder knows how to handle balls, doesn't she?
Hodder did a lot.
A lot of balls, yeah.
The mistress of the Middle East.
2 whisks at a time.
Yeah, 2 whisks at a time.
Like
double whisking. The blue team was Jenny and Samira. That was a really good team.
Love watching those guys.
The only time they cut to those guys was just to show the fact that they knew what they were doing.
Yep.
But they cut back...
Except for writing the word Mediterranean.
Oh, don't.
Mediterranean.
We're coming back to Mediterranean and the fact that everybody on that show needs a spelling test.
Look, I'd like to go to the beautiful blue waters of the Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean.
I think the Mediterranean is somewhere where it's like they've added some bloody... that stuff that turns into jelly.
Gelatin?
Gelatin into the water. It's the Mediterranean.
I was a bit worried by the fact that they thought the Mediterranean had a double T. Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And then, like, when they asked up the line and the response was, I've written on my board, but I'm pretty sure I've got it wrong too. I was like, come on.
But to be honest, it's not the first spelling mistake you'll see on a MasterChef
and definitely
board,
not the last.
and it won't be the last.
All right, then the burgundy team, which was Gina and Jess.
Yeah, I love the look of that honey chicken.
The honey chicken looked good. We'll come back to that in a minute. Yellow was Aldo and Kristen, which is a good little mixture there. And then the purple was Lisa and Sarah. Again, a nice, really strong, good running team.
Yep.
So let's get into it, shall we?
Yes.
Right. Message to the judges of MasterChef, because we know you listen. No, you don't. Never fucking listen to an episode in your life. Right?
George going, okay, note to self.
George is sitting there going, I wonder what they're saying today. No,
I need
really
to pay my staff. Okay, remember that, George.
Must remember that. Chris and
Stop being a dick.
Chris and Kristie
Take my sweet salt of it.
Chris and Kristie say pay staff, writing on the back of his hand. All right. So you got upset tonight with the fact that when Chloe came back from grabbing all the produce, she had all of that pork.
Yep.
And when you looked at her and went, what are you doing with that? Her response was, I'm going to mince it.
Yep.
All I have to say to you is, this is your doing. This is your fault. I ranted about it the other day. I'm not going to rant about it tonight because I really do now need to start asking questions about what has gone wrong in Chloe's life that she feels she needs to mince everything. Does she live on roadkill? And the only way... I mean, she's a nutritionist, so maybe it's a catch and kill thing. Like, part of her nutrition sort of values is I catch it, I kill it, I eat it, and the only way to get the most nutrition out of it is to mince the fucker.
Do you think she's, like, only on Masterchef to promote her new... Her fad diet? That
Catch and kill philosophy?
No. Mincing. Mince. It's a mince philosophy. You know, she's going to have, like... really
ground and pound.
It's like...
It's her exercise and diet regime.
Yeah.
Ground and pound.
It's like you grind your mince, grind your food into mince, and then pound the pavement to work off the mince.
Ground and pound. Although some of the gay contestants, a ground and pound can mean something completely different. It's grinder and pound.
Well, anyway. Maybe it is directed at gay people, and it's like about mincing. So
possibly,
highly,
possibly.
Queens
maybe she's playing for that audience. But anyway, regardless of what it is, like the food that Chloe churned out really early was good. Like the first lot of noodles were amazing. By about the third time of the noodles, it's a bit overdone. And we now seem to be getting to a bit of the point where Chloe is not able to come up with... And look, Janine was on her team too, so it's not just her. Janine admitted tonight she froze and had absolutely no ideas whatsoever. So... Between the two of them, the two problems were, first of all, the pork slider idea. Mm-hmm. They didn't do anything different for it. They literally ended up just cooking the pork, putting it on a brioche bun, didn't even toast the bun. The biggest question they asked about the slider was, should we butter the bread? For a couple of hundred people. Should I be butter? They're about to serve.
And that's what I've gone, hello, canteen ladies.
Yes. They're about 2 minutes from service, and Chloe just looks at Janine and goes, should I butter these? No, maybe you should have made, something to go with it a little bit.
It's one of the things, okay, I find there's a generation in our parents that if you're doing a spread, like a buffet or anything, or like a family dinner, that they think that you have to butter people's bread. It's like, how fucking incompetent do you think your diners are that are coming in and the butter, like the bread rolls have to be pre-buttered?
Well, maybe the problem with that is when they're making the slider, maybe the problem was that they were a bit worried that everything was far too dry. And
maybe they needed some kind of flavour.
And they needed to have flavour on it.
Figured
butter equals flavour.
Yeah.
It's a long-held Masterchef tradition. Butter equals flavour. But then that was followed up with the nectarines. So they had this idea for they were going to get some nectarines, they're going to halve them, and then they're going to sort of put them in the oven and sort of oven roast them up.
And lo and behold,
until they suddenly realised that the oven was in use with all of the fucking pork. How do you not notice your oven is full of pork?
But you don't need to... But then you could adapt. You could go, okay... Stovetop. Like, you could poach them, you could fucking grill them.
No. We had a better answer. Strawberries and cream. What annoyed me about...
I'm surprised they didn't do my mum's old favourite, which is like fucking strawberry jam and like just drizzled cream on top of a bit of bread.
I was surprised they didn't just go with just cream.
I'm surprised they didn't start dishing out carob.
I'm surprised they didn't start menu logging desserts. So anyway...
Dialing up Jeremy. Urban
desserts. Can you flick us some macarons quickly? So there was... Look, there was a lot wrong with the red team. There was a hell of a lot wrong with the red team. And again...
And you know what? I've got no fucking sympathy anymore.
No.
I'm just like...
I have sympathy if it's the first time, maybe even the second time.
If there's actually some development or there's like some skill or some talent there.
Chloe's now been in black so many times. I think more of her wearing a black apron than I do of her wearing her whites.
Uh-huh.
it's getting to the stage now where it's beyond a joke.
She's been in black so many times. Amy Winehouse is writing another song for her out of the grave. You know?
Well done.
It's like...
Well done.
She's been in black so many times. Like, fucking Will Smith's calling up to, like threatening to, like, fucking, like, sue her for copyright. Because Men in Black.
I get it.
Yeah.
She's the Tommy Lee Jones. That was a bit of a long bow, but we'll go with it. All right, so let's move on.
She's been in black so many times. New Zealand is calling to try and recruit her for the All Blacks.
Does anybody else at home want this segment to move on? Because I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Here. There's the door. Go through.
Thank you very much. Anyway, so...
I was closing.
Thank you for closing the door behind me. All right.
She's been in black.
Stop it! From out of the darkness and into the light, the white team. Sashi and Reese. Now, they had a couple of misadventures as well.
No, they didn't have misadventures.
No, they did. They had too little of the chicken.
Yeah, because Sashi's gone, I'm only going to cook for 100 people.
Now, what the problem was, whenever you have to do a challenge like this, you make portions. You don't make, that looks about right. So you do things where you actually have, like, you know, again, it was the purple team who served the skewers. Like, 2 skewers. There you go. 2 skewers. 2 skewers. All right, we know how many.
You need 1,000 skewers to serve 500
You work
people.
it out. Whereas what Sashi did was, that looks about right.
Yeah.
Right, and they got caught out. Now, they managed to scramble and make banana fritters, which bailed them out, and got them enough money that they ended up in the top couple. And they made the Indian donut, and Matt and Gary sort of didn't like the donut. Matt and Gary George didn't like the donut.
They like the curry.
They liked the curry, though. The curry was good.
But, you know, the question is how much.
But we'll have a bit of a talk about that in a minute, because when we get to like what this episode actually was about and how they judged it, I want to have a bit of a talk.
What other people cooked? Kristen and Aldo, I wanted to see more of that lamb.
We saw almost none of it.
I know.
Does anyone remember seeing any of them?
No. And then they're dishing it up, and it looked fucking moist. It was pulling apart. They'd made their own flatbread. I'm like, what's going on here?
There were a couple of teams where we really didn't see much of what they did.
Oh, my God. Like Sarah and Lisa with the chimichurri sauce and the...
I'm not going to lie. I don't know what the purple team made for their second dish. Because they made the chimichurri, like they knew that one. They flicked straight past what their second dish was. They were part of the montage of mediocrity, and they didn't focus on them long enough. I don't know what they made.
There were only 7 teams tonight, and there was enough space to see what everyone was properly making.
Instead, we spent a hell of a lot of time on the white team, a hell of a lot of time on the red team.
And a lot of time
And a lot of time on the green team talking about balls. Yep. So let's talk about balls. So Hodder and Ben made the koftas. And
they looked like they had it under control.
They did look like they had it under control.
But Hodder did say, I'm worried I might overcook.
I'm worried they'll be overcooked. There's someone on Twitter commented, possibly a little bit unfairly, but, you know, it was sort of, from what they were editing and what they showed, it looked like this. They were like, Ben, Hodder was literally doing everything. The least you could do is pay attention to how the balls are cooking.
Yeah.
Because Hodder, like, she made the koftas, they rolled them up, then she was doing the double hand whisking that she does that is amazing to make sure that the custard with berry compote worked. Yeah. I don't quite know what Ben was doing.
Being assistants and writing things on the board.
He probably could have been watching the koftas.
And he should have been watching his balls.
He should have been watching his balls.
What man, he doesn't pay attention to his balls?
You've got to pay attention.
Because I'm sure if you mishandled your balls...
You don't want them overdone.
You would, have, so many issues.
You don't... Look, there's nothing worse than when they're not tender enough. When they're far too rigid and they're far too, solid. That's a problem.
It's a big problem.
Got to warm them up a little bit. So...
handle them with care.
Handle with care.
Gently cut the balls. Poor old Mr. Ballsack.
Poor old Mr. Ballsack. Anyway... Blue team, Jenny and Samira, that lamb looked incredible, although you did have one problem with poor Jenny.
Yeah, Mediterranean.
No, you had a bigger problem with her.
Oh, when she was going out, yelling at people to come and buy their stuff?
No, when she was pronouncing a word.
Oh, which word was that?
Begins with P.
Oh, pomegranate! It's pomegranate! Not pomegranate. Pomegranate. Oh, my God. She's not the only one. Every time someone comes on, they're going, I'm going to use these delicious pomegranates. It's like, oh, my fucking God. Pomegranate.
It takes a lot for Kristie to snap. And apparently it didn't take a lot tonight. All it took was the word pomegranate as opposed to pomegranate.
But did you see, like, it traumatised me so much I, like, blocked it out of my head.
Yeah, you did.
Because otherwise I'd be just going, oh, my fucking God.
I heard it. I heard
pomegranate.
I heard it. So, but apart from that and their baklava cheesecake looked amazing too. That looked really good. But that lamb looked really tender. It looked delicious. And they said they didn't just use the one cut. They used the cutlet. And they used another bit as well. So it was really, they gave them the variety there of the segments. That was really cool. I'd love to talk a lot more about what the purple team made, but as I said, they barely showed them. The first I knew about what they'd made was when they were in the montage.
Yes.
I don't know what they did.
No.
I don't know. So, Lisa, if you happen to listen to this, if you want to tell us, or Sarah, if you want to tell us what you made, that'd be great.
It looks good. The chimichurri sauce is nice bright green, and the beef apparently was cooked well.
The other team we barely saw was the Burgundy team.
Yeah.
Gina and Jess. And
deep frying ladies.
And what we need...
They're the fish and chip shop going against the canteen ladies. You know what these two were? They were like the antidote, okay? So they weren't the healthy canteen, but they were the kiosk down at the fucking, beach, frying up the fish and stuff. Okay, it was honey chicken. But they had deep fries going. Right. Had we need donuts going.
I need to give some credit here. And
wasn't a pasta.
Yeah. Gina didn't make pasta.
And you know what? I think that's because she acknowledged her environment. She goes, okay, what can we bang out quickly for this audience that people are going to want? And,
it was clever.
And, honey chicken, how many times do you walk around, like, the food courts, like, you need, like, doing your shopping and stuff? You go past the food courts and the smart Chinese places that sell dodgy Chinese are selling the honey chicken on a skewer.
It is
And
clever.
how many people do you see of all walks of life stop for the honey chicken on a skewer?
Lots of people.
Lots of people, from little kids. I've seen a businessman stop for one once.
Hang on a minute. I just love the idea that you observe
from
this.
The Netherlands.
This is dizzy stuff.
Yeah.
I just like the idea that you observe people from all walks of life eating honey chicken on such a regular basis that you're like, from the little kids to, I once saw a businessman.
Well, it's because I'm eyeing it off. Because I'm going past going, I could so smash that right now, but it's like, I just don't have time. Or like it's like 10 a.m.
But you can take it on the walk. It's portable honey chicken.
I know, but usually those places only accept cash, and I don't have cash on me. I've only got a card.
So I've mentioned this on another episode of the podcast a long time ago, but I'll mention it again.
Yeah.
Honey chicken for me, I like honey chicken, but I'm a bit traumatised.
Why?
By actually a good quality, expensive honey chicken that once messed with me. And I have told this story a very long time ago. So... When I was younger, I know this is Kristie story time, and I'm doing it. It's ruining everything.
That's all right. We can swap, babe.
So we were all a group of friends and myself at university, and we went into the casino in Miscellaneous City.
Star City.
May or may not have been called Star City at the time. Who knows? It could be Jupiter's. It could be Birdswood. It could be whatever. It could be Crown. It could be... I don't know, there's that thing in Tasmania. Anyway, so far more important. We went in there and we played a little bit of blackjack and we played a little bit of roulette, and maybe we all as a group won on roulette, and that was quite the night. Mm-hmm. And we decided to take that money and go and buy ourselves a Chinese meal at the big fancy Chinese restaurant upstairs.
Oh, look at you guys.
And we ordered...
High rollers.
We were high rollers.
Didn't realise I was marrying myself a high roller.
And there you go. So we went in there, we bought ourselves our big Chinese feast, and it was good fun. And until we got to the honey chicken, which we ordered. And the fork had been sitting in the honey chicken. Right. And by the time we got to the honey chicken, it had set. And when I say it had set, we actually picked it up by the fork, which was stuck in it, and waved the plate around our heads with the fork. We couldn't get the fork out of it. We were waving down waiters with it, going,
hello?
You really think we can eat this? And again, it had set to the point of concrete. We couldn't get the fork out of it. The waiters come over and gone, you can't really eat that, can you? And we went, well, not if we can't get a fork out of it.
It's a novel idea to make a toffee apple honey chicken.
It was an interesting toffee apple concept. I mean... I worried we thought at one point about like eating it like an ice cream, but the problem would have been you probably would have got stuck to the honey chicken. Yeah. Nobody wants to be stuck to a plate of honey chicken. Well, not when you've got a night of casino dwelling coming with you.
Not when you're a high roller. It doesn't go with the look.
You know,
hanging out with Kerry Packer and all the other high rollers. I don't know. He's dead, isn't he?
He wasn't at the time.
Yes.
So that was our honey chicken experience. So obviously you've had a better one with skewers.
Yeah. But don't you notice with honey chicken, right? They've got to get the flavour right, and it's got to be nice and fresh and hot. Otherwise, it gets like a weird aftertaste.
Otherwise, it's horrible. Yeah. Otherwise, it's very horrible.
But theirs looks good. Nice
so the judging.
Yes.
So they loved the white curry. They didn't like their donut that much, though, and they were hoping that they could work out a way to get people through the tiller. The answer was banana fritters.
Yeah.
So they judged.
Have a banana.
Now this is my only concern. The green team did it too. They're not absolved from this, but. What I was a bit concerned about was the fact that they judged this challenge off two standards.
Yeah.
So the top teams were judged off the basis of how much money they got through.
Yeah.
The bottom teams were judged by how the three judges saw it. That's okay, except for the fact that the teams were then able to put a third dish up if they needed to, like the banana fritters, which weren't judged.
No. And
the green team's Nutella pancake.
No, pizza.
Pizza wasn't judged.
No.
So you could put an extra dish up that could make you money but wouldn't be judged, but your two dishes would
I guess it's one way to stop. Okay, so it would stop, someone having a really good dish and not selling enough of it on the night.
But here's my counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
The white team ran out really early. They wouldn't have had enough money.
Yep.
To make it into the top two.
And yet here they are pulling out a third dish.
And yet they produced a third dish which got them over the line financially, which put two people who already have immunity pins into an immunity challenge.
That's true. And then we've got other people like Sarah and Lisa putting up an excellent dish.
Yeah.
We've got Aldo and Kristen putting up what looked delicious.
They like those dishes too.
And they did the Eton mess, like the strawberry mess.
Yep. And they missed out. The other team did a third dish which wasn't judged. Right, so it wasn't judged, but they were allowed to do it to make extra money. I don't think that's fair.
No.
And I include the green team in that too, right? The green team were trying to bail themselves out, didn't work.
And quite frankly, like, how the setup for the night looks like is that it's not... Before, remember how they do the challenge and people would actually be handing over real money?
Yeah.
This one looked like people had prepaid.
Coins, yeah.
And they'd been given these coins to pay with. So... The money's already been raised. Yep. People have already, bought what they have. I don't know if it was like a blanket thing, you paid it to get in.
Yeah.
Or if you had to go and exchange
I suspect that was what it was.
Yeah, so in essence, the money had already been raised. It's just depending on who they're throwing it at.
So, yeah, my issue with that is that the green team were able to get themselves into the top two off a dish that wasn't judged.
Yep.
And then other teams who... And the thing was, if they weren't then in the top couple, it would have been because they ran out. And then they would have had to make a decision. Yes, it tasted delicious, but you clearly didn't serve the right number of people.
Yeah.
And therefore, would they have potentially have become a risk for elimination?
Yeah.
Right? So my big problem with that is that judging off two standards means that a team got through off the basis of something that wasn't judged as fairly as everything else. That's my problem.
We've seen in competitions past where people have actually gone and voted for different things. So there's none of this, having to buy it and whatever. You could just make small samples, give them out to people, and then they voted for...
It's like, I don't care if it's all done by money, that's fine. If it's all done by the judges, that's fine. I don't care what method you use it by, but don't use two different methods. No. The blue team... The lamb was superb. The baklava cheesecake was very rich but very smooth. The judges adored them. The people agreed and just flocked to the blue team.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do any work to sell anything. Everyone just went to blue. The red team had Gary with my favourite quote of the season so far, where he picked up the slider, took a mouthful and went, no. Nope. That was it. And then there was absolutely no flavour. Now, my problem with the dessert was it was literally strawberries with some cream.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, they're macerated strawberries. I don't care. But strawberries and cream.
Yep.
Like strawberries and cream. That's easy. The purple team, as we said, they were in the montage. They liked it. I don't know what their dessert was. The yellow team, the lamb and the moose, was so quickly mentioned in the montage, they just went, yeah, it's okay. And they didn't even bother to mention the judging on the other. They was like, basically what they said was they're not going for it.
Yeah.
The burgundy team, the honey chicken and the donuts, they went, that's good, cut, moved to the green team. The comfortables were tough and dry. The custard and berry compote, they said, was nice but needed a crunch.
Yes.
That's where I find it really interesting in the idea of their versus the white donuts. So, anyway, the top team, Samira and Jenny won, and that was deserved. Absolutely. They were by far and away the strongest team. Sashi and Reese also went through. Yawn. I'm kind of over them a little bit. Look, Sashi's really... He's cooked well. Reese has obviously cooked well too, but I want to see different people get up there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they were far and away the top. Like, if they're far and away the top, good on them.
And it wasn't, like, it's because they're great cooks and blah, 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 but there's some people I'm seeing around there exciting me. Like, I haven't seen enough of Lisa yet. Like, she's putting up some things that I'm really interested in, but I'm not seeing her, and it's really frustrating. Like, that's why I was so excited to see Khan get up tonight. And
let's face it, the real winner of tonight was Khan, who didn't have to do this challenge.
I wonder if he just got to sit back and eat, hang out, avoid barrels.
Now, the bottom was the canteen ladies, and that was thoroughly deserved. And Huda and Ben... poor Ben, he went out and tried to do some sales, and it just...
Someone put up the
Ross Geller gif, and it was like, unfortunately for Ben, it's kind of accurate.
Yeah.
Look, I love him. He's great. He really is. He was clever in the first challenge by doing seafood, which, one, he's good at seafood, but two, it was the right weather for seafood.
Absolutely.
So that was smart, but, yeah, his sales pitch was... not really riveting.
Come on, people, get up there, and you can just see all these people that are fed. They've got food in them.
And he even said the magic words, Nutella.
Yep.
And, some people went, ooh, and then 3 guys followed them. If Nutella's not getting your sales, dude, reconsider. So, elimination this week. We've got the canteen ladies, Huda and Ben. And in the challenge for immunity this week, we have Samira, Jenny, Sashi, Reese, and of course, Khan. So that's going to be an interesting setup now. The challenge tomorrow night, the lemon meringue pie looks fascinating. Good. I can't wait to see what happens there.
Huda, what we've seen of Huda, on the fucking thing, she's like shark vision.
Yes. It'll be really interesting to see what happens there.
I was the 3D printer, fucking meringue 3D printed.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Oh, if I had one of those, I'd just have all my food 3D printed.
So that was kind of tonight's episode. Now, before we go, we do need to address, obviously, the events of the weekend. So, Anthony Bourdain, we have to talk about Anthony Bourdain. Kind of one of our sort of food idols.
Absolutely.
And I wrote a little piece on the blog, which I put out on Twitter and on the Facebook page, so feel free to go and have a look at it. It was fairly rushed, but it was, sort of had to write something about him. What we sort of love about Bourdain, and you can speak to this obviously as well, is that other chefs go out there to make food shows.
Yep.
Bourdain just went out there to travel.
Yes.
And use food as his window.
It was more than that too. It was more that he had he used his privilege in the best way possible.
Yeah.
He came from a first world country, he's a male, he's got money, and he had opportunity. And instead of just going, okay, I'm going to do something to embiggen my ego, he went out there to actually create bridges. So, he went to countries like Iran. He goes to fucking dodgy joints in Vietnam and whatever, and finds actual places that serve authentic food. And he's not going there to pretend he's discovered them. He's just going there and he genuinely enjoys them. Sometimes he's like, what the fuck, I'm with some Russian cowboy.
The random Ukrainian cowboy.
Out on the ice.
with his
catching fish
with his much younger girlfriend.
And he's obviously rich as fuck, and he's got his girlfriend's there, and he's like, let's go with this.
Or the infamous, as I said, possibly my favourite episode ever was the Greek islands and the Raki, and everyone had their bottles of their own made at home, and like, it's fun when the cameraman is smashed.
Yep.
And then the next day they turn up and they offer more booze at breakfast, and Bourdain just looks at the camera and goes, "You got to be kidding me!" And this is just before they go shooting goats.
Yeah.
To cook. But yeah, he went and he travelled everywhere. He travelled the world. He gave everyone a window into the world. He didn't, go and judge it from on high. He got involved. He, again, was born in France, and then went over to America. And I recommend as well, go and read it. It's been out everywhere this week too. Go and read the original New Yorker article that he wrote.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful window. It's a funny, beautiful window into food and food culture. And it's really well written and really well presented. And you can see, like, from that, his talents were being wasted just in cooking, and sort of he needed to get out and talk.
And in hindsight, you can see that mental health issues aren't something new to him. It's not like he's just... When you know someone who has depression, or if you live with depression, you see the world in a very pointed and sensitive light. So any times you do have those moments of lightness and of happiness, it makes you appreciate the world in so many, like for what there is to offer. And like last night, we binge watched a bit of No Reservations because it is our favourite series of Anthony Bourdain, and just his comments and his observations. It all points to someone who has struggled in life, and we know that he has, lived with addiction and, had a lot of challenges in his life. But he's also a very intelligent and very sensitive person. And for me as a woman, hearing someone just enter the conversation of Me Too, and like particularly because his girlfriend at the time, Asia Argento, was assaulted by Harvey Weinstein, and do it in such a matter-of-fact kind of way. And that's how he approached every fucking thing that he came across that was an injustice in the world. And when you start reading the tweets and people's commentary on it, and these are people from all walks of life, from the ex-president of the United States to one of my favourite people to follow on Twitter, who's a body positive woman, and her name's just gone out of my head because, of course, this is how I roll. But she said she met him in a very low-key way. She was at some celebrity gala, and she's just like, I have to go and hide. Like, there's just too many fake people around. So she found a nice quiet spot. Guess who's there?
Bourdain. Yeah.
Bourdain. And he's like looking at her, and she's gone, I've just come here to hide. And he's like, all right. And they just sat there in silence.
So there was a guy talking about it on Twitter. He said he bumped into him at a food festival on their own line.
Yeah.
And said his way of saying hello, he goes, hey, kid, you hungry? Yeah. Like those sorts of things. And so, yeah, it's sort of, obviously we sort of dedicate this to Bourdain.
And to his family and every one of us who have been inspired, touched and moved. And it's something that you didn't... like. He's not one of those heroes that you kind of talk openly about.
No.
He's just...
But the outpouring on social media this week should give you a bit of an impression of just how loved and appreciated he was. Just to finish up, I want to finish up with this last quote. It's a quote I finished up the article with on the blog. It sort of sums him up too a little bit. I think it sums up a lot of what's going on. So I'll finish with this. But up until then, I'm still Chris.
I'm still Kristie.
We'll catch you all next episode, and just finish with this. Maybe that's the enlightenment enough. To know that there is no final resting place of the mind, no moment of smug clarity. Perhaps wisdom is realising how small I am, and how unwise, and how far I have yet to go. See you later.